two vintage monarch this year.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
You know, I remember, 2 years ago you came and said they never gave you a title, and now all of a sudden they're coming fast and furious.
Yes.
Yeah? But it's wonderful. I think it's well deserved.
Yes, it's a nice experience too. I mean, and given the lifespan of the song that won the competition, Allyson, that song is about 30, this year, it's going to be 37 years old, you know.
Yes.
You know, I mean, and then, you know, it stood the test of time, you know, and so far, you know, it really, I mean, it's very outstanding as far as Calypso is concerned.
That was Life is a Stage.
Life is a Stage, yes.
You know, the Calypsos, and this is what, we were just talking with Funny, I don't know if you were hearing what we were saying, about the fact that humor is so difficult for the humorists in Calypso because they're not taken seriously in terms of the competition. You know, when last did you see a humorous Calypso make Dimash go?
No. And humor is such a wide imagination, you know, you have to really use your imagination with humor, you know. Humor is a very difficult area in Calypso to deal with. And I think that the people, you know, who really, you know, in control should give it a more serious thought.
Yes.
You know, the Be Humorous Calypso and more serious thought.
Well, now in the night when they had the extempo competition, they also had something that's called categories, and there's the humorous Calypso. And even then, you know, I found that we don't have this level of humor that we had years ago in Calypso.
Yes, and then humor shouldn't be just categorized as in a particular category, but it should be competing with the outstanding Calypsos, you know. It should be part of the whole competition itself, because Cypher, he won with a humor in 1967, you know, and since then I don't think humor really ever made it.
What was the name of the one he won with in 67?
If Peace Could Play.
If Peace Could Play, okay. And then, of course, Cypher had that wonderful style on stage.
Yes.
You ever performed on stage with him?
No, I was not that lucky, but I was always fortunate to go and see him.
Yes. He is, you know, such a memory for me that when he walked on stage,
Well, just his presence, you know, and the way he used to lift his hat to the crowd, you know, that alone.
Do you know he actually was one of the few entertainers before he opened his mouth.
Yes.
That the audience would be there applauding.
Calypso used to say, boy, you get encore before you sing,
yes.
Right? It was just, you know,
we had that
little slang, that little slogan, you know.
You get
Calypso told, boy, you get your encore before you sing.
And he certainly used to get his encore before he sing.
Yeah.
You know, as we were talking there about the competition and the fact that Life is a Stage has survived over 30 years, there are few Calypsos that do that. There's some you could sit down and say, this is going to live forever. And there are others, they come, they're nice, you enjoy it, and they go.
And then, you know, what always fascinates me, you know, Allyson, I composed that song in my innocence, you know. I mean, 37 years ago, I mean, check out Valentino 37 years ago. If it was wrong, you know, let me say 5, 10 years ago when my, you know, development as a human being, you know, experience and whatnot. Yeah. And you write a song like that, you know, you say that I did it for experience and whatnot, but between you and I didn't write that song of experience, you know. It was written for inspiration, you know. I thank God for that. You know. Sometimes you get a very special gift in life, and you don't realize there's a special gift in it. And I think that Life is a Stage is one of the special gifts that God gave to me. Because, for instance, you know, last year I performed at the Calypso tent in New York, and Life is a Stage was not on the agenda. But when I finished, you know, I had to move without saying Life is a Stage, so I realized that that song would live with me forever, you know. I just can't go on a stage, Allyson, and not leave that stage without singing Life is a Stage. Yeah. You know.
But you know, it's interesting you say that a lot of Calypsos that you've written have come out of experiences in your life.
Yes.
But this one came out of inspiration.
Yes.
So do you remember the actual sitting down and putting it to paper?
You see, one of my, how to put it, food for thought for me is words, inspired words. And from the time I came across those lines, Life is a Stage, and we are the actors, that was food for thought. Because I did essay in school, although I never reached to this, you know, academic heights or whatnot, but my ability to write essays, composition and to comprehend was there, you know. So I always liked to play with words, and it was so fascinating. And I decided, well, you know, I'm going to really use these words as something to build something on. And, I started that, will you believe I started to compose that calypso in Grenada. I got the idea here. After the season, I went to Grenada to cool out because, that was my place of birth.
Yes. Grenadian by boat, not boat.
And funny, I did 3 verses in Grenada. And when I came back to Trinidad, this when I composed the last verse. Trinidad has some scenes that I go off on. Because, I couldn't leave Trinidad out of the whole thing. I had to give Trinidad something very special. So when I came back to Trinidad, that's when I completed the song.
Yeah.
And I went to Jazzy Pant and I said, Jazzy, this is God bless his soul. So, here, listen to this, thinking, and he was so thrilled when he heard it. And he was more thrilled than me. Because maybe he maybe realized the heights and the song itself,
Of course.
But I didn't realize the weight of the song
at
that
the time. Because Jazzy, of course, would be listening to so many people's calypsos because he was responsible for saying, you can come in the tent, you can't.
Yes.
And that must have been in your relatively early days as a performer on a calypso.
I couldn't perform the song, but with that experience, I could, you realize that right on the stage, have a lot of expressions, you could dramatize it now, the way you feel it now.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was just, I was just as a poet and just reciting it.
Obviously, we know the words, life is a stage, we're all actors, we're the actors. Is there another line? That's I'm going to call it a hook line, because hook for me is, jump up. That is it. Is there any other line in that song that you feel, this is really the true, the other message within the song?
Well, we start the biblical side of the whole thing. This movie starts in the Garden of Eden. The star and co-star was Adam and Eve. As we know, or as we were taught, that Adam and Eve were the first 2 human beings in the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So, of course, if the movie starts, it had to start with them.
All right. We, in fact, have you performing Life is a Stage. Not yet. I'm quicker on the draw than my crew. All right. Years later, you perform it. When you decided to just, as you say, give it to the audience in New York unexpectedly, good reaction. So you decided to come with it this year in the competition.
Yes. Because one of the reasons for selecting Life is a Stage too, the songs that you have to sing in the competition have to be from 80 down the road. From 79 go down.
Okay.
You can, nothing from upwards,
Yeah.
So then Life is a Stage was done in 71. So
that was in fact after the 70s revolution.
Definitely.
Yeah. So very much.
Yes.
Very much what the people were looking at and feeling at the time. I don't think, people who are born after that period of time, and I wouldn't even say in the 70s because you would have been too young at 10 years old when you were in the 80s when you were 10 years old. You wouldn't have known the impact of the 70s.
No.
But I think that people who were around at that time would never understand the change that took place in Trinidad and Tobago after 1970.
But I don't think that it was really documented in a proper way that people should get a clear idea of what really went on. You see, what we lack to is documentations, a lot of serious issues and, happenings and events that I think they were documented to that extent,
People, Valentino, it was like, I have to be careful how I say this. People from all walks of life, the very wealthy and the privileged and the underprivileged and the people who were not with money or the kind of jobs that they should have had, everybody changed, Everybody changed.
It was bring about a total change.
Those who were up there and snooty came down to earth.
Yes.
And those who were not realized that they could rise and they could achieve. Okay, it's probably only now coming to America with Obama. It's probably only now coming to America.
Everything is just a matter of time.
Yes. All right, let's listen and look at some of Valentino's performance, Life is a Stage, listening carefully to the words.
Life is a stage, and we are the actors, and everybody have a part to play. Like a never-ending movie. different characters. Each one have a role to portray. Down to the scavengers and them baristas, all them doctors and lawyers and these ministers. So this honorable this and this honorable that and this lady so and so is about all them people playing. I want you to know. So don't blame the politician anytime you find you get bad administration. Oh no, that was meant to be. The fella is playing his role superbly. Now don't blame the judges for their injustice. Why blame the criminals, I say? They come out to play. This movie starts in the Garden of Eden. The start was Adam and Eve. They played their part, now they are dead, but not forgotten. And when I study the role of Adam, it makes me clean. Shows man should be able to take example and see from the beginning. Woman was trouble, but then your rule is according to your script, I say, and your fate would be judgment day. And according to the part that you play, the master will pay. Now down to the little children, from the time they born, they join life, great movie. But some of us fathers, my friend, through some wicked women, never saw our baby. Although abortion is just an act, believe me friends, I don't like that part at all. 20 women go bald when the curtain falls. Say what you want, believe I'm not joking. The women are the greatest performers for me. Their role always important, and down to their love making, these people could win an academy. They could put you in heaven, they could put you in hell. Woman could put man places man was shame to tell. So then a man must want to kill because the party have to play is to love with his heart and soul. So you see where the females always have the better role. Like that with it. So don't blame Christine Killer just because she read the lives of some politicians. She played a sexy character and she caught the promo with her sex reactions. So we should tip our hats to England and say hurrah for good old Christine, the greatest actress, no doubt, that the world has seen.
All right, just listening there, you know, and I'm looking at you performing that, and I'm trying to visualize 30 years ago that you was you were so profound at that time and seeing life.
Yes, and then using these expressions and these big words and that the master inspired.
Yes, so you say it was definitely inspiration that came there to you.
Yes, yes. You know, and maybe you see, I really had a knack for academics. You know, Allyson, not praising myself, but because of opportunities, and my woman died, I was a dropout of school. So I feel that I could have utilized my, knowledge some other area, and Calypso really is where absorb all of that, you know.
Well, we have to thank that you didn't, because otherwise we wouldn't have had Brother Valentino here, and with these great, wonderful songs and memories that you have given us.
Yes, thank
you. Know, in growing up and getting into the Calypso arena, as you say, people always call you the poet, because your Calypsos, It's really poetry,
Yes,
poetry
yes.
that you sing. Who are the people who inspired you?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, like, for Calypsonians, really, I mean, like, although I might have to take on a different line, but Crystal is one of the guys who really inspired me. His soft, smooth style, the way he stand and deliver, his contents, Well, Kitchener, really and truly, I mean, like, Kitchener was everybody's soulfish, so to say. He was everybody's darling. You understand? And he was so simple. Because in the times when I really used to listen to Calypso as a youth, it was 4-line verse and 4-line chorus, and sometimes a 2-line hook line, you know what I mean? And nowadays it's 8-line verse, 8-line chorus, and so Kitchener songs was very simple because of its contents, and the simple way he used to deliver. So you could always catch yourself singing a Kitchener song.
Yes.
Kitchener make you like
Easy
Kaiso.
to learn.
Yes, make you like to
Easy to
sing
learn.
Kaiso. But when I heard Sparrow, and I saw Sparrow too, I decided, hey, you had to be a Kaiso, And then Crystal, these guys, Spoiler imagination was so great that I couldn't be a spoiler, but I really admire Spoiler and love him up to this day. As one of he has the greatest imagination in Calypso that I have ever experienced. So these guys, they help to inspire me.
As you talk about these guys and you talk about the memory of their music and it lives on.
Yes.
Crystal, unfortunately, we don't hear very. I don't know if it wasn't recorded. We don't seem to hear Crystal's
I think
music.
of all the veterans, I think he must have done the least of recordings, although he has a repertoire, But I think that the young DJs and the radio stations supposed to do some research and come up with some Crystal. You find if you have the late Rocky McCullin around,
They would have it.
I don't think, I don't know if this other guy, there's a guy who does these things to his style music, but I can't remember his name right now. Boy. Oh boy. But just about these two guys, we know that you could really say, hey, how about some Crystal? And you're sure, but unfortunately, like we said again, documenting and restoring our music, still problem.
Valentino, there's always talk, like sometimes you hear, particularly with foreign music, they talk about the top 10 greatest songs in the world. For you, and I'm not going to ask you to name one of yours, and I'm hoping you would have put one of yours there. What for you is like the greatest Calypso of all time?
I love when Sparrow came out with Dan is the Man in the Van, because it was really a protest against the education system. And it really opened our eyes to what I learned in school and the junk they was teaching us, And to me, that was really, one of the eye-opener, And there's a Calypso that I really, appreciate. That's one of the Calypsos I really, really appreciate. Well, for the Grandmaster, he has so many different songs. And he really and truly was such a genius when it comes to composing music for Pan especially. That Pan in A minor.
That is just
Progress, King Austin's Progress, and Black Silent Caribbean Man.
He performed that yesterday at the airport, and it was. I listened to the lyrics yesterday because of the occasion of the Barbados Prime Minister. I think Stalin really hit it there. And for you, your best. Would you say it was Life as a Stage?
Yes, I would say Life as a Stage. Although where Kaiso went, I would give it a close 9 out of 10. But I would give Life as a Stage a 10 out of 10.
And in continuing to compose and to write, how do you approach it? Is your approach now to writing Calypso different to what it was years ago?
Definitely, it have to be, because when you develop and your experiences develop, and then you develop a lot of different techniques and whatnot, and you automatically come up with a formula, And I think I have a good enough formula, that to really go any direction I want.
And the lyrics are still flowing in your head?
Yes.
You don't have too many fuzzy moments?
No. I just think about the right things to say, you know. I mean, sometimes, you know, you have to use your imagination, you have to give what you're doing a serious thought, you know. Sometimes you write this, you write that, and then you read it over and say, no, I'm going to change this and whatnot. There's always room for adjustments, you know.
Yes.
And as you go along, you just always put your hand on the right thing.
You know, it's interesting that you should say that because nowadays there's so many people who I talk to and they say, man, that song came to me in a flash and I wrote it. And it's so interesting to hear the veterans. Funny said it today, you said it, I've heard Sparrow say it, I've heard others say it, that you sit down and you write, you put it away, a year later you go back to it, you work on it. This is work, this isn't just writing something and saying.
Because you see, putting on something for a lifetime, Allyson. A record is a lifetime something, you know.
That's it. It's a record is like birds that fly high, would you say?
It will end up anywhere.
Yes, and you never know where it will land.
Yes.
Oh gosh, Emma, lovely talking to you. My love always to Peggy. I know she's looking on.
Yes, for sure.
And we're going to close off chatting with you with Birds That Fly High.
Yes.
And this was part of your birthday celebration, as we continue to celebrate. Thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome, Allyson, all the time.
Thank you.
I see this ivory tower. The material what makes you feel superior. So then you look down with scorn at your brother. But your flying space is getting very narrow. Soon you won't be able to resist the arrow. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch your sky. Birds that fly high, gotta fly back down to die. So flap your wings and fly, you could never touch your sky. And don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, gotta fly back down to die. Politics and politicians is the problem. Power and corruption stands behind them. They created dirty middle class society. Within that circle, them control all the money. If they could have paid their way, they'd live forever. But we all got to go 6 feet under. Birds that fly high, none of them ever touch the sky. Birds that fly high, gotta fly back down to die. So flap your wings and fly, you could never touch the sky. Don't care how high you fly, you gotta fly back down to die. Birds that fly high, gotta fly back down to die. You remind me a lot of the vultures flying in your private jets and helicopters. At the expense of the poor, you built your castle. After using us, you're giving us the hassle. You feel you are so protected up in orbit. You don't know you're just another flying target.